Hello, everybody. Welcome to History Valley. Today, I am joined by Dave Farina. And for those that don't know, he runs a YouTube channel called Professor Dave Explains, where he has been making several videos on the topics of science, astronomy, history, and debunking pseudo-scientific and pseudo-historical claims. I've been watching his videos for several years, and I highly recommend you all to go over there to his channel and subscribe. I think you all will enjoy his content as much as I have. Welcome to History Valley, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
Do you think people at present are still in large numbers constantly falling for pseudo-historical, pseudoscientific claims? And another question I'd like to add to that is, do you think that these debunking videos that you and many other people have been doing have had a large effect in deterring that?
Yes, I think they are falling for it in record numbers due to the internet. It used to be the case that we were sort of isolated, and if you read something in a book, maybe that could have some power over your worldview. But now people make up the most insane things, and then they can spread that like a virus to every corner of the globe. And I do think that debunking matters because I think that some are really, really just compulsively seek out these conspiratorial narratives. But I think some people genuinely just encountered, a piece of content that got under their radar somehow, and the only way to neutralize that kind of content is to make other content to explain, this is fallacious. This is why this person is a liar. This is how we know they're lying. These are their motives for lying, that kind of a thing. So we have to fight content with content. So that's what I do.
Right. And there seems to be quite some people that want to believe something different. Like they think that the government is lying to them so much that they believe they want to purposely believe in the opposite of whatever they're being told. And they'll say, "Oh, all the evidence you're using to debunk me is nonsense. You're using the same propaganda I have a problem with." And they end up in that circular reasoning, and they go right back to where they started.
Right, which may or may not be completely insane depending on what we're talking about. If you're talking about, a White House press release, okay, yeah, I get that. But flat earthers say something like that, despite the fact that I will disprove the flat Earth using naked eye observations and basic logic. So when they say, "Oh, you're regurgitating a textbook or you're repeating your government indoctrination," no, I'm looking with my eyeballs and thinking with my brain. But there's everything in between. In the middle, you have like anti-vaxxers and things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's not just distrust of government; it's distrust of any large institution. So this could be the corporate, this could be the private sector, this could be just about anything, academia, whatever it is. And it's a really terrible bias that is extremely widespread, an anti-establishment bias, and it is at the root of most of this conspiratorial thinking I have found. So,
What do you think causes people to think like this, from your experience?
well, I mean, I want to be a little bit charitable because it's not out of thin air. Governments do bad things, large corporations do bad things. We
Yeah.
have reason to distrust these entities. It's not insane. But so part of it is just that we've been burnt before, and then some people who lack critical thinking are not able to approach every novel situation with critical thinking skills. They just have a blanket approach of anybody above me with any kind of authority, which is basically everyone, must be wrong. So there's that. There's also just the psychology of the delusional narcissist who wants to prop themselves up with special knowledge above the rest of mankind. And in order to do that, reality has to be wrong, right? Science has to be wrong, depending on how delusional the stance they're taking. In the case of flat Earth, it's literally all of science must be wrong in order for my science illiterate viewpoint to reign supreme. So I think there's an element of delusional narcissism somewhere in almost all of these conspiratorial thinkers. Yeah.
So I got a super chat question. Constellation Pegasus, thank you for your super chat. What does Dave think about fine-tuning argument for evidence of God as evidence set in stone and a fact.
Yeah, so I talked about this with someone else. I mean, as far as arguments for God go, I find that to be one of the better ones in that I can't like immediately dispel it. I know, however, that there are astrophysicists and even philosophers that have put forth very, very sound responses to that argument. I don't offhand remember what they are, unfortunately, but I will say that as far as arguments for God go, that is one that does give me pause. I can't immediately uh, you know, uh, counter it. I mean, I think to counter it, you have to start talking about what does fine tuning mean, and what we're talking obviously about all these physical constants inherent in the universe. What degree of variability do they genuinely have? Right? Do they have variability? We can't say for certain that they do, but yeah, it's definitely it's a thinker. Yeah.
That actually reminds me of that question reminds me of what some flat earthers will say. Flat earthers that are believers in God will say that the flat earth proves that there's a God, and the government's trying to cover up because they don't want you to know God exists.
Which is idiotic because like 90% of people in the world believe in God. So you don't need to do that. Everybody believes in God. Atheists are very much the minority. So that's a very, very dumb thing that they say. Yeah.
What do you think is like the dumbest argument you ever heard for flat Earth?
My God. I mean, I don't, they're just, I don't even think I could answer. What is the dumbest? I mean, I guess just the dumbest is that they pretend that like, oh, you believe in NASA or so, it's like just the dumbest part of it is the suspension, like just they ignore the entirety of science and history, right? We've known that the Earth is a sphere for 2,500 years. We've known it. It's like the first thing we figured out when we started thinking scientifically and applying critical thinking, we figured out, oh, hey, look at that. Okay, the
Hmm.
Earth is a sphere. Interesting. And they pretend that it's like this new thing, like, oh, starting in the 1950s, we it's like, no, what are you out of your mind? Like we've known this forever. It's such fundamental knowledge, like even like geocentrism, when we thought Earth was the center of the universe and everything was going around the Earth, which is something that was a legitimate scientific model for 1400 years. We still knew it was a sphere. I mean, it's so I guess it's probably that the all the flat earthers who say, oh, you believe NASA lies and blah blah, it's like I don't have to say a word about anything about NASA to prove it's a sphere. So
Some of the other videos that I've seen that you've done is on the electric universe theory, and I kind of want to talk about that for a moment. What do you think about the Sapphire project? I know that you did your own videos debunking that. I don't remember how many. Was
yeah.
it one or a couple? Yeah.
Yeah, I did
Anyway.
one. I'm actually working on one right now, literally
Okay.
today, on Wall Thornhill and Thunderbolts project. So that's going to be a
Ah.
doozy. But yeah, I did Electric Universe, and then because I sort of like casually peeked at it and was like, oh, this is dumb. And then, as with everything else, I make one piece, and then I get all of the detractors, and so it made me look at other things. And so it was like Sapphire Project, Sapphire. And I'm like, you guys, this is such a blatant cash grab. It's just lies on the internet for $25,000 investments. Like they're not doing anything. They're like transmutation about no, they're not doing anything. They don't publish anything. So I made that one video on Sapphire Project where I talked. I was in personal correspondence with the only plasma physicist that was in that group, and he was like, "Oh my god, these guys were morons! Like they didn't understand anything, and they're not doing anything." So, but this is very interesting to me because with the conspiratorial thing, if you're saying, "Oh, pharma is lying about this drug or this vaccine or whatever to make money," okay, at least there's like this thread of logic behind it. Somebody is profiting off of something, right? But when you have this kind of pseudoscience in astrophysics, it's just insane. Why would people deny that the validity of astrophysical phenomena just because? Like that's what EU proponents like Wall and all these guys are trying to do. They're trying to say, oh, like black holes don't exist. this is not what comets are, da 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 da. It's actually this other thing. And they're pretending that all the astrophysicists in the whole world are going, no, you're wrong because I don't like you. Like, there's no reason. There's no way to profit off of these really abstract astrophysical observations, right? We just do science and we figure out what things are. Maybe later we'll find applications. It's not like something tangible like material science where we're building new electronics or we're doing something that somebody can profit off of. We're just like, oh, look, a black hole is there. So why would we make this up? Why would we be denying all this rubbish that the EU says just to keep them out of the club? Like, I don't. It just doesn't make any sense, you know. But
Mm-hmm. We got another question from Constellation Pegasus again. Thank you for your super chat. Yeah, arguing for and against fine-tuning argument is nothing but speculation on both sides. No evidence of God whatsoever.
yeah, pretty much, I believe.
I think, yeah, I agree that flat Earth is the dumbest argument because I think it's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. But there's another one that might be dumber.
Mhm.
It's flat Earth, but on another level. There's a video I saw. I don't remember which channel it was from, where this guy literally claimed that you can set sail with boats to other planets. I think he was insinuating that the entire cosmos is inside the atmosphere. I don't know. I don't remember the rest of it. I don't think I finished watching it because I couldn't handle it. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if you really dig around on the internet, you find a lot of stupid, and sadly, you find people that fall for. There's not that many narratives out there that nobody has fallen for. Somebody's going to fall for it, no matter how preposterous it is. So,
Yeah, I think one of the different. Yeah, I think this is one of the different theories about flat Earth that I've heard of. Some of them will say the sun is inside the atmosphere. Some of them will say it's not; it's outside of it. Um,
the dome,
yeah,
in or out, who knows, right? Whatever.
yeah. I wish they would see how ridiculous that sounds, and that they can't even agree with each other. That, like you said in one of your videos, that each each phenomenon requires its own explanation. I remember you saying that when
Hmm.
it comes to flat Earth, making it like more difficult to believe because, like, okay, it's you have to create a huge chain of claims, and the longer it gets, the weaker it gets.
Yeah, of
And
course.
like, you just need one explanation to explain all of that. This the spherical Earth,
Hmm.
but they need a bunch of explanations that are in some ways hypocritical to explain everything independently because they really can't.
Yeah, beyond the fact that all of the explanations fail miserably, even viewed individually, none of them work. But of course, certainly none of them work together to create a cohesive model, right? They don't have a model. They don't bother trying to like see here everything works on this thing. Like, they'll put the dinner plate and they'll have something going on, but they don't show night and day and seasons or thing. They just show some things spinning around and go, "See, it works." It's like, well, you're not showing anything actually. So, but
What are your reviews on the hollow Earth theory?
I mean, that's so dumb that I mean,
Yeah,
it's not even a thing. I don't really see too many people pushing
yeah,
that. That one I think is probably a meme. Like, I think flat Earth started as a meme. This current incarnation of flat Earth that picked up in like 2015 or something like that, or maybe a little earlier. I think was a meme gone awry, or even a psyop or something like that. And I think Hollow Earth is the same way, but it was a joke, and it didn't catch on the way flat Earth mysteriously did, where you have people actually subscribing to it. But yeah.
just to go back on the Sapphire project real quick, I remember Electric Universe proponents saying they're claiming that, oh, this thing really works, and it's I think one of them even claimed that they generated heat that's hotter than the sun in that thing. And I
Well,
kind of
hotter than what part? I mean, hotter than the surface. I mean, it's certainly possible to
yeah.
create temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun or the outer layers of the sun.
Mhm.
It's the core of the sun that's so unbelievably hot. But no, I mean, they don't do anything. I mean, they have YouTube videos where they say they've done this or that, but they don't publish any data. They don't publish research. So it's just some guy on YouTube saying I did this. Well, that's not anything, right? They're lying. That's all there is to it. And they just show pictures of, these things and say, oh, this resembles vaguely some astrophysical phenomenon. And they say we've transmuted elements or this or that, and they're lying. Right. And then, people will say, oh, well, then why are they working with Lockheed Martin or the department above? They're not. They're not doing anything. They're lying on the internet to fleece people out of $25,000 investments. That's it. They are not doing anything. I mean, sorry, you fell for it. I don't know what to tell you.
I remember the video you responded against Ben. Was his name Ben Davidson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ben Davidson. And you showed the pathetic emails he sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's out of control, man. That guy is
yeah.
nuts. He's completely unhinged. But I think he's kind of ramping down. I didn't even watch it, but somebody sent me an email or wrote a comment or something that like he did some video where he's like, "Oh, we're like tapering down operations or something." I think maybe the money's drying up a little bit, but I think he's maybe still building his like apocalypse camp or whatever wherever he lives. But no, that guy, I really deserve what was coming to him because I made a debunk on Electric Universe, and then he attacked me. I had no idea who he was. He attacked me and sent everybody to hassle me, and like he slandered me on Facebook and everything. And so I did that, response to him, and then he kind of shut up for a while, and then it ramped back up again, and he was attacking and talking all this crap about me. And so I did that second one about his whole channel where I just showed everything, every every video he does is just a bunch of lies. He's just misrepresenting the papers he's referencing, and he's just kind of like rapid fire using big words that were scripted for him so that like it seems like he's talking about research, but he's not. He's not saying what the paper says. He's directly contradicting it. He reads a line from the abstract, lies about it, and then his Kickstarter scams and everything, and it's just all this hoopla. But yeah, that guy, man, that is one of the biggest weirdos I think I've interacted with due to my internet activity. So, mhm.
I want to return to that topic in a second. We got another super chat from Constellation Pegasus. Thank you, Constellation Pegasus. What about man being 6,000 years old from the mainstream religions?
Right. So no, I mean it's just not. We're still unfortunately living in a world where scientific advancements that began in the early 19th century, so when geology and biology started to take steps toward what they are today, the unfortunate ramification, well, not unfortunate, I mean the fortunate, but unfortunately for fundamentalist religious people, science began to disprove a bunch of stuff they believe, and here we are almost 200 years later still trying to get people to accept that, and trying to mold their religious worldview to accommodate scientific facts. So no, human. I mean, human. I mean, give me a break. 6,000 years old. We have archaeological evidence from cities that are older than that. Right? The Sumerians, Babylonians, it's older than that. So and that's cities. And so, definitely creationists will deny the entire field of anthropology. And, that's, of course, the MO of, science deniers of all varieties. But yes, fundamentalist religions are kind of the kings of the science deniers, because their worldview depends on science being wrong. But it isn't. Sorry.
Have you received any more emails like that, like the ones you received from Ben Davidson, specifically other major EU proponents like him?
Oh, no, not well, although he isn't really quite EU. He's his own little flavor. Like he
Hmm.
kind of rejects, like
Yeah.
he's not into like Wall Thornhill stuff, but he has a little chip in his shoulder because he started to get invited to the Thunderbolts conferences. because they need to pad out the roster. Nobody wants to talk at these things. Nobody credible will be caught dead at these things. So here comes Ben, who's just a layperson who's just making dumb content. And so, of course, they invite him. And I heard through the grapevine that he got a big head, Ben, and he wanted to purchase that conference from Wall and like be the king of the conference. And they wouldn't let him. So they kind of had that falling out. And so he doesn't espouse the paintings in the caves and the lightning bolts in space and all that stuff. He's this other like, the sun causes earthquakes, and he's his own flavor. Actually, it's not his own flavor. He ripped it off of this guy, Doug Vogt, and just sort of took the biblical stuff out of it, but kept the rest. So he's not even original anyway. But no, I haven't I get emails and Instagram messages and comments and everything, you Twitter messages all the time from all kinds of kooks. But not as many from the major, from the proponents themselves, right? Most are too smart to do that because they don't want to. Like, why would somebody angry? Why would somebody like that send me an angry email that I could then display in a video to show how petty they are? Only Ben, because he's a moron, and he didn't realize that I would make content showing everybody what a little toddler he is. But yeah, so no, not usually.
Liran, thank you for your super chat. Define science.
Yeah, it's tough to define. I mean, I would say, like, in just a sentence, I would say it is the study of the physical world using empirical methods. So we are just using empiricism, right? We're collecting data about the world around us, the physical world around us, to learn how it works, things like that. You could also talk about it as a process. You could talk about it as the scientific method. You could talk about it as a body of knowledge, right? We have accumulated a body of knowledge that we call science through doing science. So there's a lot of ways to put it, but yeah, I think it's just it's just a way. It's the way that we learn about the physical world, the things around us, the earth, space, what's inside of us, physical mechanisms, the way that we learn about those things, pretty much.
Okay, I was muted.
Mm-hmm.
Which electric universe argument do you think is like I guess the least stupidest is the way to put it?
I mean, everything, it's all intertwined and all incredibly stupid. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they just I get surprisingly, the dumbest is what it emerged from. So it all started with this guy Immanuel Velikovsky in the 1950s, and he had this he made this dumb book where he made all of these ridiculous claims where Venus was birthed inside of Jupiter, and it flew out like a comet, and it went across the solar system to somehow settle into its nearly circular orbit, which defies basic physics. And all of these features were carved by this magic lightning bolts in space, which for whatever reason we cannot see anywhere ever. So just pure fantasy. Like, it doesn't even qualify as science fiction. It's just complete fantasy. And that was sort of all the EU proponents now kind of stem from him. He was like the L. Ron Hubbard kind of, of EU, like just nonsense, not fantastical nonsense to make money. And so that all stems from him. And some of them stick with the things he said. Some of them kind of try to deviate. Some of them try to incorporate elements of plasma cosmology, which at one point was legitimate scientific inquiry, but which we departed from around 40, 50 years ago because it didn't work out. But so it really is a hodgepodge. You have all these different figures, all saying slightly different things, all of which is just pseudoscience, essentially.
We got another super chat from Liran again. Thank you for your super chat, Liran. By your definition, introspection is non-scientific?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I mean, you can do introspection in a way that is aligned with psychological principles. I mean, if you study psychology, you can you can be introspective in an educated way, in a way that's guided by scientific principles. But I mean, I guess I understand what you're saying. Like when we just like think about ourselves or think about something abstractly, maybe that's not quite as rigorously scientific as like looking at a rock under a microscope, I guess. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe semantics.
Returning to the flat Earth topic, one of the arguments they make that I just can't stand is water finds its level. I just don't understand how that demonstrates the Earth is flat. I just don't understand that.
Well, it doesn't. They don't know what level means.
Yeah,
So
obviously.
level means perpendicular to the vector pointing to the center of the Earth, right? Gravity is pulling everything towards the center of the Earth. Massive objects, very large, massive objects like moons and planets, pull everything to their center. That's why they're spherical, roughly spherical, right? Because everything is being pulled towards the center of mass. And water molecules also are pulled towards the center of the Earth. And so level, right, just changes as you depending on where you are on the surface of the Earth, right? This vector pointing to the center is changing, and so here's level, right? Here's level. That's all it is. So water molecule, right? An ocean is not a block of ice. It's a bunch of individual water molecules all getting pulled towards the center of the Earth. So, I mean, yeah, like if you look at a glass of water, okay, what is the curvature of Earth from here to here? It's negligible, so it looks flat. And you can do
Mm-hmm.
that with a swimming pool or a small pond. Once you get to a large lake, you already are incorporating curvature because it's large enough that there's a little bit of curvature. And an ocean, there's a lot of curvature because they're very big. So they just don't know what level means. They're not flat. They are level, but that's level doesn't mean flat. So it's a very dumb thing that they say.
Liren, thank you for your super chat. To you, what is the scientific method?
So the scientific method is where we probe nature empirically. We construct models that are meant to explain phenomena. So with the idea, usually we have some kind of hypothesis, and then do make some observations, and until we are able to construct a theory. So a theory is a model that and correlates disparate data and classify. So you have some model that says, I think that a bunch of this stuff that we're seeing happens because this is how something is. And if this is true, if I do all these different tests, according to this theory, this is what I should see happen. And so we do all these tests, and if we don't see anything like what we expected, then that theory probably is not worth much. If we continually over decades and decades see observations confirmed, sometimes to incredible degrees of precision quantitatively, then that corroborates the model and lends a lot of credence to the model. And so we can continue to use that. Then sometimes there's a paradigm shift to a newer and better model that can better explain a wider set of phenomena. So it's really just about a quest to develop these models that not only explain everything all the things that we're seeing and observing in a particular field of science, but also making predictions that are continually validated, by scientific experiment.
And to go back to the electric universe topic real quick, other than what earlier I asked what is the least stupidest argument from them. Now I'm going to ask, what is the dumbest argument you've ever heard in your opinion from the electric universe
I
theorist?
mean, they just have all this stuff about like the sun is positively charged and like comets are negatively charged and all this stuff, and electric gravity. Wall has his electric gravity, right? Gravity has an electromagnetic component. It's like, no, it doesn't. Like a middle schooler can see that it doesn't. Like take a neutral object, like a rock or whatever, throw it, observe its motion, whatever it is. Now do the same thing with a bar magnet or an electrode or something which has electrical charge. If there's an electromagnetic component to gravitational behavior, we should see it, right? You should be able to do something. You should be able to use magnets to levitate, right? If there's an electromagnetic component to gravity, demonstrate it somehow, right? Do anything to demonstrate it. It's just such unbelievable tripe. I just don't understand how anybody could fall for it. Like, this is not, like, I get astrophysics is very, very abstract, right? When we're talking about supermassive black holes and all these things, all right, that's very removed from our normal sphere of experience. But things fall down, and they fall down by virtue of their mass. End of story. It doesn't have anything to do with electrical charge or anything like that. And so, if you're saying that something is intimately correlated with electricity and magnetism, and modifying the electrical or magnetic composition of an object has no effect on its behavior from a gravitational standpoint, then you're wrong. Right? You're just wrong. So that's my very first EU debunk, was focused mainly on this electric gravity nonsense, because I just thought it was so unbelievably stupid, and I hadn't really delved into all the sapphires and all the other stuff they say. But that one, man, I got a lot of really angry people, and I was like, all right, I can see that I have hit a nerve here. A lot of people are not into me debunking their pseudoscientific concepts of physics. But that's when you gotta keep going here. So,
Later again, thank you for your super chat. A hypothetical deductive model was a modern invention contrasted with the classical inductive method, induction or falsification. Why?
I'm not enough of a scholar of philosophy to be able to. I don't even know what the question is, so I'm gonna pass on that one.
What do you think about the claim? I think this is a scientific theory about the moon's origin. Some
Hmm.
claim that the moon. I don't remember for sure. I think there's a claim that the moon originated from Earth somehow.
Well,
And
it was a collision event. So we call this object Theia, I believe. But so in solar system formation is a very chaotic process, right? You have all of this material in this protoplanetary disk, and most of it becomes the star at the center, and then you have all of these other bodies that very slowly over millions of years accumulate into planets and moons. From many objects, they coalesce by gravitational influence. But
mm,
early in the solar system, you have all of these lots and lots of bodies, and so right, very soon after the Earth's formation, very early in the history of the solar system, you had this other very large body, close in size to Earth, that collided with Earth, and so the material. So it's actually not even as much the material of Theia, but rather the material of the Earth itself that got thrown up into space, and so you had this ring of debris that then coalesced to form the moon. So there's a lot there's a lot of things pointing to this. The orbit of the moon itself, the
mm,
angle of the angle of the orbit of the moon compared to the ecliptic, and also the tilt in Earth's rotational axis, right? That is very easily explained by that collision event. You have Earth with a rotational axis that is perpendicular to the ecliptic, right? It's going around and it's spinning like this, and then that collision is what caused that tilt. And then,
mm.
furthermore, the composition of the moon itself is essentially identical to Earth's crust. So we could tell that before we even went there, but then we went there and brought moon rocks back, and it's similar. It's extremely similar in composition to Earth's crust, because it was Earth's crust at one point. So there's obviously more than that. That's just sort of what I understand in my surface level understanding of it.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I remember reading that a while back. Yeah, that sounds like that's pretty good evidence. It's like finding DNA somewhere. Oh, this person was over there, and when the equivalent of that, they found similar Earth geological features on the moon.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways that moons are produced. Some are part of the protoplanetary disk, but then a lot of them, like if you go out towards Saturn and beyond, a lot of those are captured objects from like the Kuiper Belt. So just the planets have a lot of gravitational influence, and so something was in a path such that it just suddenly got captured by a planet. And so there are moons that rotate in the direction opposite from the other moons. So those are very clearly captured objects because they have a pathway that was in no way determined by the rotational direction of the original protoplanetary disk. Right, all the planets are going the same way around the sun because they're all part of that initial protoplanetary disk. So you have
Hmm.
conservation of angular momentum, right? Everything is kind of spinning this one way as the bodies coalesce into planets. Then you have these moons way out there. Just this one's going the other way around its planet. So we had to explain that, right? That has some other trajectory, that it started from some other place, was dislodged, and then went towards the planet, and then started going this way around it. So it's a lot of crazy, crazy cool stuff.
Yeah, and that makes more sense to me than the claim that Venus was, I don't know, birthed out in completely in complete form outside of another planet.
There's so many reasons that is unbelievably stupid, right? For how does first of all, how does a planet form within another planet? How does it leave that planet? And then most importantly, if you have something flying across the solar system towards the sun, it's going to go into the sun, right? You need the orbital mechanics is very, you can't just fake it, right? The Venus has a nearly circular orbit. All the planets have elliptical orbits, but the eccentricities vary. Some of them are very nearly circular, and Venus's is very nearly circular. That means it was part of the protoplanetary disk, unquestionably, right? It can't just fly across the solar system and then just stop and go, okay, now I'm going to go in a circular orbit. It makes no sense physically whatsoever. So that's just, I mean, I have a very hard time understanding how anybody could read something like that, like what Velikovsky would write, and not just laugh out loud at how stupid it is. But the power of fantasy is, I don't know how to it's just hard for me to wrap my head around that people could fall for that, but they did, and still do. So
I remember that you were pointing out that they think that the suns are connected in some kind of universal electrical grid.
yeah. Which is yeah, I mean, if you want to get into the physics, of like, you have electrical current coming in, but then you have the solar wind leaving, just like that doesn't make any sense. What's attracting it and then projecting the solar wind out? But most importantly, and I've pointed this out multiple times, they have their model of the galaxy as this like circuit or whatever, and the spiral arms have this like electrical discharge, and then everything's powered by the plasmoid at the center of the and everything, and all of the things that are going on. It's for a spiral galaxy. Not all galaxies are spiral galaxies, right? Their model has this very specific disc shaped spiral to it. You have elliptical galaxies that are just big blobs of stars. How are those stars powered? They don't have that galaxy doesn't have that shape. So with that observation alone, the model must be discarded. But that's not how they operate, right? They're not actually doing science or thinking empirically. They're just crafting bullshit, a fairy tale to sell. But yeah, so that's why I try to make these debunks, because I can point that out. I can say, well, what about elliptical galaxies? And then somebody, hopefully, who isn't really in it for this conspiratorial identity can think, oh, huh, actually, that's a pretty good point. All right, I guess this is stupid. I'm going to stop believing it now. So you're not going to reach every last person, but you definitely can get some proportion of people who are on the fence or only lightly into it, contemplating it, something like that.
You ever heard of the flat Earth theory that Australia doesn't exist?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a joke. Like, it's hard to tell when it's like normal people making fun of flat earthers and pretending that they have said things versus the dumb things that they actually say. But I don't know. Maybe some of them believe that. But I mean, come on. There's millions and millions of people that
And it's
live in
probably,
Australia.
I think it's a couple of them are serious because one of them went as far as saying everybody down there is actors, and I'm like, that's sad.
Hmm. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, even if they're actors, they're still down there in a place
yeah,
that is real. I don't know.
exactly.
At a certain point, it's futile to try to analyze this stuff. But
Yeah, it's like there's also some other theories about actually this location on the map is the same place as this map because they look alike or I guess even sound alike. It's just even though you can fly on a plane over there and check it out, like it's there. We didn't just make up another place.
hmm. But no, the flights aren't real. You can't take them, right? That's what I have. I have that one debunk on the flights, Sydney to Santiago or, whatever, any two major cities in the Southern Hemisphere. It's impossible for them. So they just say it's not real. The flights aren't real.
That's sad.
All right, man, book it and go. Do something. Be a hero. Book the flight, go there and see what happens. I don't know. Get off your ass, man. Do
I mean,
anything.
you can watch airplanes taking off at the airport. You can go in, you can board you can board a flight, get a ticket, board a flight. You can feel the plane taking off.
You can also see out the window and see what's
Yeah.
below you. But no, those are screens, right? Those are screens. You're actually in I don't know, whatever.
So
It's
how do they explain the planes actually taking off that you can see from the ground taking off? How is that explained?
They don't. I don't know. Like they don't go, or they're not going where they say they're going. I don't know. I mean, they don't have explanations for this stuff. It's madness. It's madness. You're denying the things in front of your face. The sky
Literally.
is green. This to them. It's you can't talk to this level of obtuseness. But
Yeah, I've heard some claim that the moon itself is flat too, because you can't see the other side.
yeah, well, I actually did a debunk on that too, and that doesn't work, right? If you have a moon, if you're on the pizza land and you have a flat moon facing down like a spotlight, as it goes around, it would change shape, right? It would appear,
You know,
it would only appear circular if it was directly above you. It would appear more oval shaped as it moved around. So, nope, that doesn't work either. There's no configuration. The observations of the moon alone debunk a flat Earth. It doesn't work, right? We all see the same face, and it rises and sets. So
yeah, I think there's another theory a pseudo theory that's running around, claiming that the moon itself emits light, even though it's it's reflecting the sun.
yeah, I mean, yeah. The my favorite is the moonlight is cold thing to prove that it's its own source of light, which is basically them just not knowing what light or heat are. Right, that light could be cold. That light could make something colder. It means you have no idea what light and heat are. Light can't make things colder, right? They think of light as there's just a fundamental misunderstanding. Like they view sunlight, like they think the sun is like a little bonfire, and we're like heating our hands by the fire. It's not. It's light, right? Light isn't hot, right? Light is absorbed by atoms and molecules, and it generates vibrations, and it's frictional. Heat is a transfer of energy, right? So it's the light itself isn't what makes things hot. Right? Look at a moon or a planet with little to no atmosphere, right? It's that Earth has an atmosphere. So the particles in the atmosphere and the ground are heated, or their excitations occur due to the light, and then those vibrations and that frictional force is what generates heat. But so there's all kinds of stuff there when they're like, oh, the sun is you think the sun is burning in the vacuum of space where there's no oxygen. It's not fire. Stars are not fire. It's nuclear fusion. Like you could learn any of this in 10 seconds. Just take some responsibility for your worldview, man. It's crazy.
Lyrin again, thank you for your super chat. Ancient philosophers believed in a flat Earth. Some of them had very convincing arguments for and against. Obviously, they are wrong. What would you tell them other than the direct modern evidence?
I mean, I don't know that that many did, because again, in classical Greece, we already knew for sure that it was a sphere. So I mean, I don't I've never heard of any argument for a flat Earth, I think, other than it looks flat. So I don't really know what I would tell them. I would tell them, I mean, other than direct modern evidence, I mean, why other than evidence? How about just look at things, right? I am very confident that if you pluck me back into 500 or 1000 or 2000 BCE or whatever it is, long, long time ago, I think I could have figured out the Earth is a sphere by looking at the sun or the moon or the stars, just by looking at things, which is what everyone was doing, right? If I look at the sun, it rises from below the horizon, retains the same angular size all through its trajectory, and then sets on the opposite horizon below the horizon. How is that consistent with a flat Earth? Unless you're thinking that your little land is the only land and it goes around your little land. But I mean, it just defies all logic. So, other than direct modern evidence, I mean, if you mean by direct modern evidence, you mean pictures of the Earth from space, great. I don't need that. I mean, we certainly don't need that. I just look at the sun, look at the moon, look at the stars, and apply basic logic and spatial reasoning. That's what I would tell them.
What do you think about the claim that Earth was damaged? This is another electric universe claim that the Earth was damaged by some sort of electrical charges, like I guess massive thunderbolt-like energy from space, something like that, just electrocuting the Earth, like they talked about on with Mars, those
Right.
marks on
Valles
Mars were,
Marineris is
yeah.
electrical conductive, as lightning bolts carved it.
Mhm.
What I would say to them is that then why is it explained so readily by plate tectonics and geological phenomena and just planetary science that we understand very well? And second, if there are lightning bolts in space, why can't we see lightning bolts in space? You are claiming that there is this thing that happens and it doesn't happen. We don't see it anywhere. We can see all over the galaxy. We can see all over the place. We have such powerful telescopes, and we see all these incredible things in space. Where are the magic lightning bolts in space? It's not. They're not there. It's not a thing that happens. Stop it. I don't know what to tell you.
Do, what do you think about like the electric universe theory right now, in the sense that their adherents, when you look at the comments, do you see that a lot of people looked at the videos that you did on electric universe and are like, okay, I see it now, it's false? Do you think you've had a lot of results there?
Yeah, I mean, look, not everybody's leaving a comment, right? So, I mean, some people watch and
Right.
consider and kind of take it home and reflect. Some people do. Some people do comment and say, "Wow, I think I was going a little bit down a rabbit hole. I'm glad I saw this." I get that with suspicious observers all the time. People are like, "Man, thank you for making this debunk. I was like trying to move my family to another state and like do all this crazy stuff. I was so paranoid. But man, it's good to know that this guy's just a lying con man, and I don't have to listen to what he says." So with all the EU stuff, I mean, I don't know. I think because EU is not the way that EU is anti-establishment is very empty. It's just real astrophysics is wrong, and the thing I'm making up is right. So people don't have as much invested in it as they do, like, oh, pharma or the government or whatever, and they're trying to kill us and they're trying to blah blah blah. It's just like some space stuff that they're like, oh, that's pretty neat. What if that's like a different way of looking at astrophysics, without realizing that it's just a bunch of crap that somebody made up. So I think it's a little easier in, a little easier out than other stuff like, QAnon or whatever, where you're really, really invested. But unfortunately, some people do base their identity on this kind of stuff, and just like, especially the proponents themselves. I think that some of these figures, um, go through some kind of mental gymnastics to believe the lies that they're peddling, because they just so badly, like, there's a couple of people that kind of got into science and wanted to like be this great scientific figure and just aren't, and so they invented this alternate world where everybody's wrong. Einstein is a moron. All these guys are morons, and I know this real way that the universe operates. I mean, it's really sad, but I think that some of them do inhabit that headspace where I'm one of the greatest physicists alive because, or in history, because I know that, general relativity is dumb and it's this way. It goes like this. I mean, I think definitely some of them are just lying for cash, but some of them, I think, think that they really know what they're talking about, which is it's insane to me. But yeah.
Do you think some people believe this stuff because they wanted something in life and they didn't get it? And not just that, but perhaps another thing is um, there was something the government did that pissed them off. Not just a lying thing, but maybe something else, and they kind of want to get revenge, or they want to, or maybe even I'll go as far as saying, do you think some people are just malevolent and just wanted to do damage to society?
I mean, I would go with greed over malevolence. I mean, everybody likes to make money, and lying is a
Right.
great way to make money. As I said, the figureheads themselves, some of them are just lying to make money, but I do think some of them, as you said, wanted this thing. They wanted to be this great, I want to be like these great scientists, but I'm not. I can't. So I'll invent an alternate reality where I am. Um, for other people who fall for it, I mean, maybe it's like a thing of like, I hated science in school and it was all really hard and dumb. And so I'll believe in a thing that says it's all wrong so I can vindicate, like just it was all wrong. The problem wasn't me. I'm not dumb. It's not that I can't understand science. Science is wrong. Right. I think that might be a component, or just like the flat Earth thing. I wanting to be in possession of special privileged knowledge that places you above others, including real scientists. So it's I'm not going to pretend to be able to, I'm not Freud over here, but those are some aspects that seem plausible to me.
Last question. What do you think about pseudo historians? You know, people like um, ancient aliens, stuff like that.
Also very, very dumb. Yeah, just and really the, the demise of the History Channel. When the History Channel was like, "Hey, guess what? We're not about history anymore. We're just about we got to make some money." But yeah, I don't know. I mean, people really like this revelatory headspace. This wow, everything you thought we knew about da 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 is wrong. This new thing, it's like, man, come on, just it's a way of maybe it's a way of like gaining this supreme knowledge like that, right? It's a way of disregarding everything that we know, which means you don't have to put any effort in to learn, right? I can all of a sudden know everything about science or history or whatever because everything that I thought I was supposed to know isn't real. So now it's just this, and I watch this one thing, so now I'm an expert, right? And I'm going to go on all my little outlets and pretend to be an expert and argue with people who actually are experts and say complete gibberish. And then when they either ignore me or shut me down, I just ignore it and continue in my delusions. But yeah, there's a psychology to it for sure.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Dave. I've
My
enjoyed
pleasure.
this conversation. And I thank everybody else that super chatted to support my channel, and I will see all of you later. Thanks. Hello, viewers. Thanks for watching this video from the History Valley YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if any of you wish to further support this channel, please consider checking out this channel's Patreon page and becoming a patron, and or donate through PayPal or through Super Chat during a live stream. Thank you.